Hello, I'm Jonasz Rawiński and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Now, as the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues, it is all too easy to overlook the situation in neighbouring Belarus. But while not subject to Russian war crimes on a daily basis, the Belarusian society nevertheless suffers, browbeaten by a dictator who has refused to let go for the last 3 decades. A new initiative has resulted in an open letter signed by Nobel Prize laureates being submitted to the US Embassy in Warsaw. So will the Trump administration help set hundreds of political prisoners free from Lukashenko's clutches? Joining us now is Anatol Kotau, Belarusian Democratic Forces Forum. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So let's begin with the statistics. For the benefit of our viewers, how many political prisoners are being held in Belarusian prisons today?
Actually, there are at least 2 figures. One is counting something like 1,300 by now. These are people who are recognized, who have been recognized as political prisoners by different human rights defending organizations from Belarus and abroad. But they have quite strict criteria, and everybody knows that we should double or even tell that it's something like more than 10,000 people who are being arrested for political reasons, and most of them are not being recognized as political prisoners due to criteria introduced by human rights defending organizations. Because, for example, there were such cases as Nikolai Avtuhovich, who has been accused as a terrorist by Belarusian regime, and actually human rights defending organizations applying their own criteria for a couple of years haven't recognized him as a political prisoner.
So the Vyasna, for example, they say around 12 to 1,400, I believe.
Yeah.
So these statistics differ. Do you think this actually may have a bearing on possible future negotiations? If you're saying that only some of these people are recognized internationally as political prisoners, do you think that the Trump administration, upon receipt of the letter, might say, okay, but we're only going to do that for those who are internationally recognized? Could this be a problem?
Yes, this could be a problem, but if even this happens, that people who are on the so-called official list of political prisoners are released, this could be a beginning of the broader process in Belarus in releasing the others who do not have such status for different reasons. Sometimes the relatives of those people are against, because they are afraid of being repressed by Belarusian regime, because relatives of people who are recognized as political prisoners are being repressed even harder by the regime in Belarus.
And again, this is not just a case of house arrests. These people are being kept in terrifying conditions. Some of them are being kept in isolation for years.
Yeah, that's true. And even those who have been kept for several months, as the lastly released American Ukrainian citizen, he spent several months in Belarusian prison and he lost 20 kilos.
So we have compelling evidence that methods which are being used could tantamount to the violation of human rights.
Yeah, that's true.
So would you say that the letter could have an effect on the Trump administration? The signatories, of course, this is an impressive list, but we also see a rather different approach of the Trump administration to foreign politics. Could this letter nevertheless spark a reaction?
You see, we have to try. We have to try any means to release people from Belarusian regime prisons. Of course, Trump is unpredictable and I would say extremely controversial if we speak about foreign policy. Right now, he accused President Zelensky of being a dictator yesterday. And this is sad but true. But On the other hand,
sad but true. You're referring to Trump being controversial, not to President Zelensky being a dictator, just for the sake of clarity.
That's a good point. But on the other hand, Trump administration managed to release not only those three people recently, but at the end of Trump's previous term, they also managed to take from Belarusian prison several persons with American citizenship. So if we speak about, I would say, efficiency of American presidential administration, Trump is more efficient in getting out his people from Belarusian prisons in comparison to Biden. So if he seeks for some deal with Lukashenko, there should be voice of Belarusian people heard. And of course, it's obvious that Nobel laureates' voice, I would say, can make a difference for Trump. And while seeking this deal with Lukashenko, Mr. Putin, he can hear and try to release people from Belarusian prisons. This is the point.
So, a deal, what could it be about?
Actually, nobody knows what Trump has in his head, because Belarus, for sure, it's not the crucial point for Donald Trump in comparison, for example, with his messages about Ukraine or Canada or Mexico or any other countries. He is trying to solve the problems, but some people say that the deal could be exchange of all political prisoners for easing the sanctions against the Belarusian regime. And if Trump anyhow thinks about easing the sanctions, which is maybe not the best solution in current situation, we have to push him to think over people who are suffering from Belarusian regime, and that in case of such a deal, we should have our own voice, and we should care about people who are in prisons right now. He has a chance. He proved that he has a chance to make a pressure on Putin and Lukashenko to do something Trump wants them to do.
Some speculate this could be a part of a broader deal to decrease the dependence of Belarus on Russia. But can the Lukashenko regime still be disentangled from Moscow?
It's a very tricky issue because personally I think that in order to move in this direction, Lukashenko has to betray Putin. In such case, he has to take the Western umbrella against Mr. Putin. And I think that this is next to impossible.
Not a viable scenario, you're saying. But would he have an interest to protect his sovereignty? I mean, the Union-State deal apparently is nearing closer and closer to completion, and that would have meant the loss of Belarusian independence, effectively.
Yeah, that's true. And we should not forget that we should keep in mind that for Lukashenko, the issue of Belarusian sovereignty is the issue of his own personal power. If Belarus loses sovereignty totally, he is not needed anymore for anybody in the world. I don't think that neighbors of Belarus, I mean Western neighbors and Ukraine, will feel sorry if Lukashenko will be substituted by Russia, and Kremlin will be happy to substitute him with someone who is more predictable, more cheap, I would say, in this Union-State deal for Russia.
Wouldn't Central European countries feel sorry because right now they will have more Russia on their border instead of Belarus, which retains a degree of independence right now?
It's also...
It's not personally about Lukashenko, it's about the general situation.
But neither Lukashenko, neither his possible substitute from eastern side is not a guarantee for these Central European countries' safety and security. If these countries are worrying about not even democracy in Belarus, but about their own safety and security, they should be more active in substituting Lukashenko with Lukashenko's regime with democracy. So this means one more clash with Russia.
Are you saying that it is unlikely for Lukashenko to take the plunge and change sides? But if he wanted to try and at least remain on the fence, so maintain contacts with Russia, but also go for some sort of limited rapprochement with the West, what leverage do we have over Lukashenko in that case? What other concessions could we try to extract from him, apart from freeing political prisoners?
You see, it's a very, very interesting situation. The whole region with Lukashenko has. Why? Because, of course, for Western countries, Lukashenko maybe is a little bit more better than Russia on this territory. But on the other hand, this means that they will support Lukashenko, not to step away, which is in a long-term perspective brings us to nowhere. Actually, we have 30 years of his balancing, and nobody except Lukashenko is a beneficiary of such balancing. Neither Belarusian people are satisfied with Lukashenko ruling, neither Western countries are satisfied with Lukashenko's regime. This is something that should be changed. I'll get back to one more my point I'm trying to deliver in all my speeches, that this situation resembles the situation of the Eastern European countries while they have been in Soviet bloc. That Western countries were quite satisfied that there is no Soviet Union near their borders, that there is something softer, but at the end it was still a problem.
So the sphere of influence was there. One quick final question. Given how unconventional and unorthodox Trump's policies can be, do you think we should expect some, again, unusual move, like trying to encourage Lukashenko to change sides? And in such case, how can we ensure that this is not done at the expense of the Belarusian people?
I would say that such a deal could have happened 10 or 15 years ago. Now it's really next to impossible. Of course, for Lukashenko, there are only two issues: money and his power, which are in general the same. They are interconnected. And keeping out Lukashenko from Russia means that this is the West who will support, who will pay for his ruling in Belarus.
Anatol Kotau was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm Janusz Lewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please do stay with us.